For millions of years, an ancient force known only as the Silence erased entire civilizations from existence. The first civilization fell, entire galaxies vanished. Yet when the Silence finally reached the Milky Way, it didn't attack, it didn't invade, it didn't fire a single shot. Instead, it sent one message across the stars: bring us the humans. And suddenly, the entire galaxy realized humanity wasn't just another species. It was the reason the Silence had returned. For millions of years, it had been moving silent, invisible. But the end. Across the vast darkness between galaxies, something ancient drifted through the void. Entire civilizations had vanished trying to understand it. Entire empires had fallen attempting to stop it. The first civilization, the greatest civilization ever recorded, had sacrificed everything just to slow its advance. And now, it had finally arrived. The discovery happened inside the Deep Space Observation Array orbiting the edge of known space. At first, technicians believed the sensors were malfunctioning. The readings made no sense. A massive gravitational anomaly had appeared beyond the galactic rim. No star, no black hole. No nebula, nothing visible. Yet space itself was bending around something enormous. Scientists ran diagnostics. Then they ran them again. The results never changed. Something was there, something impossible. Within hours, emergency alerts spread across the Galactic Council. Military headquarters activated crisis protocols. Research stations suspended all non-essential operations. Thousands of analysts rushed to examine incoming data. The images finally arrived. And the galaxy froze. At the edge of known space, darkness itself appeared distorted. Stars vanished behind an enormous shadow. Entire constellations disappeared from view. Something larger than any fleet ever assembled was moving through intergalactic space. No engines. No visible weapons, no recognizable structure. Just an immense black silhouette crossing the stars. Then, every observatory detected the same thing. A signal. The exact same signal discovered inside the ancient machine. The signal from the first civilization. The signal that carried a single warning: they are returning. Panic erupted almost instantly. News networks interrupted normal broadcasts. Political leaders declared states of emergency. Stock markets collapsed across hundreds of worlds. Religious groups proclaimed the end of history. Military forces mobilized throughout the galaxy. Nobody knew what the Silence truly was, but everyone knew what it had done. The ancient archives described entire civilizations erased from existence. Not conquered, not occupied. Erased. Entire star systems reduced to silence. Entire populations vanished without explanation. And now the same threat had returned. Emergency meetings began immediately. The Galactic Council summoned every major civilization. Even species that normally refused contact arrived. Historic enemies sat together. Ancient rivals shared intelligence. The situation was simply too dangerous. For the first time in galactic history, nobody cared about politics. Survival came first. Meanwhile, humanity remained strangely calm. Not because humans weren't afraid. They were very afraid. But fear was familiar. Throughout history, humans had survived disasters by doing what they always did: asking questions, solving problems, adapting. While politicians argued, human engineers examined data. While admirals prepared fleets, human scientists studied the ancient archives. And while the galaxy focused on the Silence itself, humanity noticed something strange. The object wasn't accelerating. It wasn't deploying weapons. It wasn't launching probes. It wasn't attacking, in fact. It appeared to be searching. Deep inside Earth's orbital research stations, scientists compared current sensor readings with information recovered from the ancient machine. The similarities were astonishing. The same energy patterns. The same communication structures. The same navigation signatures. Whatever the Silence was, it seemed connected to the ancient civilization that fought it millions of years ago. Then a young human researcher noticed something unexpected. Hidden inside the signal was a repeating sequence, A mathematical pattern. Not a warning, not a threat, a query. The silence wasn't broadcasting a message. It was listening for a response. The discovery changed everything. Suddenly, the object no longer looked like an invading force. It looked like something searching for information, searching for someone. Scientists worked around the clock decoding additional fragments. Each new discovery raised even more questions. Why had it waited millions of years? Why return now? Why activate only after the ancient machine awakened? And most importantly, what exactly was it looking for? 3 days later, humanity received the answer. The Deep Space Observation Array detected a focused transmission originating directly from the approaching anomaly. Unlike previous signals, this one had a destination. It wasn't aimed at the Galactic Council. It wasn't aimed at military headquarters. It wasn't aimed at the ancient machine. It was aimed directly at Earth. Emergency alerts immediately spread through every human system. Scientists scrambled to intercept the transmission. Military commanders ordered maximum security protocols. Entire governments watched in silence. The message arrived seconds later. A single line of translated text appeared across every screen. Every ship, every station, every research facility, every command center. And when humanity read those words, the entire galaxy changed. Because after millions of years of silence, the ancient entity finally spoke. And its first words were, "We have found the descendants." No one understood what it meant, not yet. But somewhere beyond the stars, hidden within the darkness between galaxies, something ancient was changing course. And it was heading straight for Earth. The message spread across the galaxy in less than an hour. We have found the descendants. No threat. No declaration of war, no demand for surrender. Just 6 words. Yet those 6 words created more fear than any weapon ever could. Across thousands of worlds, billions watched emergency broadcasts. Military fleets entered maximum readiness. Orbital defenses activated. Ancient treaties were suspended. For the first time in modern history, the entire galaxy was united by a single question. Descendants of who? Inside Earth's lunar research complex, scientists worked without rest. The transmission from the silence had become humanity's highest priority. Every processor, every quantum computer to every research network, everything focused on decoding the message. Meanwhile, the enormous anomaly continued approaching the Milky Way. Slowly, steadily, unstoppably. And the closer it came, the stranger the sensor readings became. Its mass appeared impossible. Its energy output violated known physics. Its structure seemed to change depending on how it was observed. Some telescopes detected a colossal artificial construct. Others detected a swarm. Some detected nothing at all. It was as if reality itself couldn't decide what the silence actually was. The uncertainty terrified scientists. Human engineers became fascinated because uncertainty meant opportunity. And humanity had always been good at understanding things nobody else could explain. 3 days after the transmission, the Galactic Council convened the largest emergency summit in history. Thousands of representatives arrived. Every major civilization attended. Even species that had fought wars for centuries sat side by side. The atmosphere was tense. Fear hung over the chamber like a storm. Then the discussion began. Military leaders demanded immediate action. Several civilizations proposed launching a preemptive strike. Others suggested constructing defensive megafortresses. A few advocated evacuation plans. Human representatives listened quietly. Then, a council admiral stood and addressed the room. "We possess the archives of the first civilization. We know what this thing did." A holographic display appeared. Ancient records filled the chamber. Images of destroyed star systems, renewed worlds. Collapsed civilizations. The evidence was horrifying. The silence had not merely defeated the first civilization, it had erased it. Entire sectors vanished from history. Billions disappeared without explanation. Nothing. No occupation, only absence. The room fell silent. Then the Admiral asked the question everyone feared. If it destroyed them, what chance do we have? Nobody answered. Because nobody knew. Meanwhile, deep inside Earth's research facilities, a breakthrough occurred. Human scientists successfully decoded another fragment of the ancient transmission. This message was longer. Much longer and infinitely more disturbing. The translated text appeared on the main screen. Researchers stared at it in disbelief. The message read, "Genetic pattern confirmed." A pause, then another line. "Primary lineage survives." The room went completely silent. Genetic pattern. Primary lineage, the implications were impossible. The silence wasn't identifying civilizations. It was identifying biology. It had recognized humanity, not because of technology, not because of culture, because of genetics. The discovery triggered immediate panic among intelligence agencies. Governments classified the information instantly. But secrets never stayed hidden for long. Especially not galaxy-changing secrets. Within days, rumors spread everywhere. Some believed humans were descendants of the first civilization. Others claimed humanity had been engineered. Some conspiracy groups insisted Earth itself was artificial. The theories multiplied, the fear intensified. And through it all, the silence continued moving closer. Then something happened that nobody expected. A second transmission arrived. Unlike the first message, this one wasn't sent to Earth. It was broadcast to the entire galaxy. Every communication network received it simultaneously. Every language translated it instantly. Every screen displayed the same words. Do not resist. Panic exploded. Markets collapsed. Riots erupted on several worlds. Military fleets mobilized immediately. The message sounded like a warning, or a threat, no one could tell which. Human scientists examined the transmission carefully. Something felt wrong. The language patterns were unusual. Different from the previous messages. Almost protective. As if the sender wasn't threatening the galaxy. As if it was trying to prevent something. Then another sentence appeared. A sentence that froze everyone. The hunters will detect violence. The galaxy stopped breathing. Hunters, plural. The silence wasn't the threat. The possibility seemed impossible. Yet, the message clearly suggested something worse existed. Something capable of detecting conflict. Something even the silence wanted to avoid. Suddenly, the ancient archives became far more terrifying. Because the first civilization's records rarely described a single enemy, they described an ecosystem. An ancient chain of predators moving through the cosmos. The silence might simply be one part of something much larger. Something far older and far more dangerous. Then Earth received a private transmission. Only Earth, only humanity. The message contained coordinates. Nothing else, no explanation, no warning, just a location. A place far beyond the edge of explored space. A place not marked on any known star chart. Scientists immediately compared the coordinates against the ancient archives. What they found sent chills through every researcher. The coordinates matched a location referenced repeatedly by the first civilization, a location known by a single name. The Origin Vault. According to fragmented records, it contained the greatest secret in galactic history, the truth about humanity, the truth about the first civilization, and possibly the truth about why the silence had come looking for Earth. As the galaxy descended into fear and uncertainty, humanity prepared an expedition, not a fleet, not an army, a mission. Because for the first time, human engineers, scientists, and explorers understood something crucial. The silence wasn't hunting humanity, it was searching for it. And somewhere beyond known space, the answers were waiting. The coordinates changed everything. For weeks, The galaxy had focused on the silence, the approaching anomaly, the ancient threat, the warnings from the first civilization. Now, for the first time, humanity had something else, a destination, a clue, a possible answer. Deep inside Earth's unified command center, the coordinates floated above a massive holographic star map. Scientists surrounded the projection. Engineers analyzed every detail, but military officers watched silently. The location didn't exist on any modern chart. No known civilization had ever reported a system there. No exploration vessel had ever traveled that far. According to current records, the region was empty. Yet the ancient archives repeatedly referenced it. Again and again. The same name appeared throughout millions of years of forgotten history. Origin Vault. Nobody knew what it was. But everyone agreed on one thing. The Silence wanted humanity to find it. And that alone made it important. An expedition was authorized immediately. Unlike military operations, this mission would be small, fast, difficult to detect. Human leaders remembered the warning. The hunters will detect violence. No one fully understood what the message meant, but nobody wanted to test it. The mission vessel chosen for the journey was unlike any ship ever built. Its name was Pathfinder. Constructed using Evolution Fleet technology, the ship combined exploration systems, scientific laboratories, adaptive manufacturing facilities, and experimental navigation hardware. The Pathfinder wasn't designed for war. It was designed for discovery. Naturally, human engineers still installed enough weapons to start a small war, just in case. The crew consisted of scientists, engineers, explorers, linguists, historians, and a handful of military personnel. Among them was Dr. Elena Ward, the engineer whose discoveries had repeatedly changed the course of history. When she received the mission assignment, she accepted immediately, because something about the Origin Vault bothered her. The Silence wasn't acting like a conqueror. It wasn't behaving like a predator. It was behaving like a guide. And Elena wanted to know why. 3 days later, Pathfinder departed. Across the galaxy, billions watched the launch. Hope and fear mixed together. Because if the mission failed, nobody knew what would happen next. The ship entered hyperspace, then disappeared beyond the frontier. Beyond known maps, beyond explored space, beyond history itself. The journey lasted nearly 3 weeks. As Pathfinder traveled deeper into unexplored regions, strange phenomena began appearing. Stars behaved differently. Sensor readings became inconsistent. Ancient, gravitational distortions filled entire sectors. Several times, the crew detected enormous artificial structures drifting through deep space. Ruins. Gigantic ruins. Some larger than planets, all ancient, all destroyed. Evidence that the first civilization had once truly dominated the galaxy. The discoveries became increasingly unsettling. Entire systems appeared abandoned, not damaged, not conquered. Abandoned, as if billions of beings had simply vanished overnight. The silence of those dead systems disturbed everyone aboard Pathfinder, even the military officers. Then the ship reached the coordinates. And everything changed at first. Sensors detected nothing. No planets, no stations, no structures, only empty space. Several crew members wondered if the coordinates were wrong. Then the stars moved, not literally. But something between Pathfinder and the stars shifted. A massive invisible object emerged from concealment. Gasps echoed across the bridge. The Origin Vault appeared. It was enormous. Far larger than anyone expected. A metallic sphere nearly the size of a moon. Ancient beyond imagination. Covered in scars. Covered in damage, yet somehow still operational. Lights illuminated across its surface as Pathfinder approached. The structure had been waiting for millions of years, but waiting for them. The crew exchanged nervous glances. Nobody spoke. Then a transmission arrived. Not from the Silence, from the vault itself. A voice filled the bridge.com, ancient, artificial, yet strangely familiar. Genetic authorization accepted. Everyone froze. The voice continued. Welcome home. The words hit the crew like a physical blow. Welcome home. Several scientists immediately began arguing. Others simply stared. Elena Ward felt her stomach tighten, because she already suspected what came next. Massive doors began opening across the surface of the vault. Ancient mechanisms awakened. Systems millions of years old came alive. Pathfinder received an automated docking invitation. Nobody knew whether to accept. Military officers advised caution. Scientists demanded entry. Historians practically begged. After hours of debate, a decision was made. Pathfinder entered the vault. The interior was breathtaking. Gigantic corridors stretched for kilometers. Ancient machines lined massive chambers. Entire cities appeared preserved inside sealed environments. It wasn't a fortress. It wasn't a weapon. It was an archive. A vault containing the memory of an entire civilization. Then, the crew discovered something impossible. The preserved cities weren't alien, at least not entirely. Certain architectural features looked strangely familiar. Doors, layouts. Design principles. Mathematical proportions. Small details. The similarities were subtle, yet impossible to ignore. Human engineers noticed them immediately. Human historians noticed them next. Then everyone noticed. The realization spread rapidly. The first civilization wasn't completely alien. Somehow, somewhere, there was a connection. Then Elena found the chamber. A massive circular room hidden deep inside the vault. At its center stood a holographic projection, a star map. The oldest star map ever discovered. Millions of years older than recorded history, the map activated as she approached. Thousands of stars illuminated. Ancient trade routes appeared. Lost civilizations emerged. Then one section glowed brighter than the rest. A region highlighted in gold, the system containing Earth. The room went silent. Earth wasn't merely marked. It was designated, important, special, intentional. The implications were staggering. Before anyone could react, another message appeared, a recording. An ancient recording. A figure materialized inside the hologram. The first member of the first civilization ever seen by modern eyes. The entire room stopped breathing, because the being standing before them looked human. Not identical, not exactly, but close enough to make everyone's blood run cold. The ancient figure stared directly into the recording device and spoke. If you are seeing this, then humanity survived. The crew stood frozen. Millions of years of history suddenly felt very small, because the greatest mystery in galactic history was about to be answered, and the truth would change humanity forever. The room stood frozen. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The ancient figure continued staring out from the holographic recording. Millions of years separated him from the people watching. Yet somehow, he felt familiar, uncomfortably familiar. His face carried humors desameyes. The same expressions, the same subtle emotional movements. Not identical, but close enough. Far too close. Across the chamber, historians exchanged nervous glances. Scientists looked stunned. Military officers struggled to process what they were seeing. The ancient figure finally spoke again. His voice echoed through the enormous hall. Measured, heavy with the weight of history. If you are seeing this, then our final contingency succeeded. The hologram shifted. Ancient star maps appeared around him. Entire galaxies illuminated. Civilizations long forgotten filled the display. We were the first civilization. The crew already knew that, but what came next changed everything. Arau, sense absolute seelen. No one breathed. No one blinked. For several seconds, the universe itself seemed to stop. Then the room erupted. Scientists began shouting. Historians argued instantly. Military officers demanded verification. Others simply stared in disbelief. Elena Ward remained silent because deep down, she already suspected it. The hologram waited patiently. Then continued, not descendants by culture. Not descendants by ideology. Descendants by design. The words hit harder than any weapon. Humanity wasn't merely connected to the first civilization. Humanity had been created by them. The recording displayed ancient footage, gigantic fleets, planet-sized structures, civilizations spanning entire sectors. The true scale of the first civilization finally became visible. They had achieved things beyond imagination. Yet despite all their power, they had made a terrible mistake. They became perfect, too perfect. Every system optimized, every society stabilized. Every variable controlled. At first, it seemed like paradise. For thousands of years, nothing threatened them. Then the hunters arrived. Ancient images appeared, distorted, incomplete or corrupted by time. Enormous dark shapes moved through the stars. Entire systems disappeared behind impossible shadows. The footage ended abruptly. Even the archives struggled to preserve the details. The ancient figure looked grim. The hunters evolved beyond predictability. We did not. Another star map appeared. Red markers spread across the galaxy. One civilization after another vanished. The first civilization fought back at first. They won. Then they lost slowly, relentlessly. Because the hunters adapted faster. Every weapon became useless. Every defense became obsolete. Every strategy failed. The more the first civilization relied on perfection, the more vulnerable they became. Then came their final discovery, a desperate solution. The ancient figure activated another projection. A small blue world appeared. Earth. Young. Primitive. Untouched. We needed something we could no longer create. Unpredictability. The room grew silent again. Because everyone knew what he meant. The first civilization had become trapped by their own success. They couldn't evolve anymore. Couldn't adapt. Couldn't change, so they built something that could. Humanity. The hologram displayed genetic sequences. Ancient engineering records. Development programs millions of years old. Human evolution wasn't accidental. It was intentional. Earth had become an experiment, a project, a final hope. The first civilization seeded humanity and then disappeared. Not because they abandoned the project. Because they ran out of time. The hunters arrived before humanity was ready. Civilization collapsed. The war ended. The first civilization died. But humanity survived. Elena stared at the recording. Her mind raced. Every strange discovery, every unexplained coincidence, every impossible survival story in human history. Suddenly they felt connected, not controlled, not planned. Connected. The ancient figure smiled sadly. You were never meant to become us. You were meant to become better than us. The words echoed through the chamber. For millions of years, the galaxy believed humanity was young, primitive, late to the stars, yet now the truth emerged. Humanity represented the final chapter of the oldest civilization ever known. Not its continuation, its evolution. Then, another figure appeared beside the ancient speaker. A machine. Large. Dark. Familiar. The crew immediately recognized it. The silence, or at least an earlier version of it. Shock spread across the room. The ancient figure nodded, as if expecting the reaction. You call them the silence. We called them guardians. The room froze again. Guardians? Not conquerors. Not destroyers. The hologram continued. The guardians were not created to exterminate life. They were to contain them. To warn civilizations. Over millions of years, myths replaced facts. History disappeared. Survivors misunderstood their purpose. The guardians became monsters in legend. But the truth was different. They were the last, surviving defense system of the first civilization. still performing their mission after millions of years, still searching, still protecting. The realization hit everyone at once. The silence had never come to destroy humanity, it had come to find it. To verify whether the final contingency survived, whether the descendants still existed, whether hope remained. Then alarms suddenly erupted throughout the vault. Red lights illuminated ancient walls, warning systems activated. Massive doors sealed automatically, the hologram flickered. The ancient figure looked directly at Elena. For the first time, genuine fear appeared on his face. They're here. The room fell silent. A new signal appeared across every display. Not from the vault, not from Earth, not from the silence. Something else, something approaching the galaxy that fast. Much faster than predicted, the hologram began collapsing. Power fluctuations spread through the chamber. Ancient systems struggled to remain operational. Before the recording disappeared completely, the ancient figure delivered one final message, a warning. The same warning he had tried to deliver millions of years ago. The Guardians found you first. Pray the hunters don't. The recording vanished. Darkness filled the room. And somewhere beyond the edge of known space, something had just awakened. The alarms refused to stop. Red emergency lights flashed across the ancient corridors of the Origin Vault. Massive doors sealed automatically. Ancient defense systems awakened for the first time in millions of years, and nobody knew why. Inside the central archive chamber, Elena Ward stared at the dark holographic projector. The ancient recording was gone, but its final words remained burned into everyone's mind. The Guardians found you first. Pray the hunters don't. Silence filled the room. Then every display inside the vault activated simultaneously. New data flooded the system. Star maps, sensor reports. Ancient military records. The vault itself had begun responding, as if the arrival of the unknown signal had triggered hidden protocols. Across the chamber, historians rushed toward the displays. Scientists began analyzing incoming information. Military officers demanded status updates. Nobody liked what they found. The approaching signal wasn't coming from a ship, or even a fleet. It appeared to be coming from something much larger, something moving between stars. Something old. Very old. Meanwhile, far beyond the Origin Vault, the massive entity known as the Silence continued approaching the galaxy, except now, humanity understood the truth. The Silence wasn't an invader. It was a guardian. It was a guardian, a survivor, a machine still carrying out orders millions of years after its creators vanished. The revelation shocked the galaxy. When the information finally reached the Galactic Council, reactions were mixed. Some leaders welcomed the news, others refused to believe it. Several military commanders insisted it was a deception. After all, how could a machine powerful enough to terrify civilizations also be their protector? Human engineers understood the answer immediately, because history had already taught them something important. The strongest shield often looked like a weapon, and the strongest weapon often looked like a shield. Back inside the vault, Elena uncovered another archive. This one was heavily encrypted. Ancient security systems resisted every attempt to access it, until the vault scanned her DNA. Then the locks disappeared. The chamber fell silent. Every scientist turned toward the screen. The file opened, and what appeared next terrified everyone. Ancient battlefield footage. Real footage. Not simulations. Not reconstructions. Actual recordings from the final war, millions of years old. The images were horrifying. Entire star systems burned. Planet-sized structures exploded. Gigantic fleets fought battles so enormous they dwarfed anything in modern history. The first civilization had not gone quietly. They had fought with everything they possessed. And still they lost. Then the footage changed. A new object appeared. The hunters. For the first time, humanity saw them. Or at least part of them. The recordings were damaged. Corrupted. Incomplete. Yet the image remained disturbing. The hunters didn't resemble ships or machines or living creatures. They looked like moving distortions in reality itself. Entire sections of space twisted around them, stars disappeared nearby. Sensor systems failed. Even the ancient recordings struggled to capture their shape. One scientist whispered the thought everyone share. How do you fight something like that? Nobody answered. Because nobody knew. The footage continued. Guardian fleets entered the battle. Millions of enormous machines. The ancestors of the silence. Entire armadas of autonomous defenders. They attacked the hunters without hesitation. The battle that followed seemed impossible. Reality bent. Stars exploded. Entire sectors vanished beneath waves of energy. The scale exceeded human imagination. Then the footage ended, not with victory, with retreat. The Guardians survived, the first civilization did not. Elena felt cold. Because she finally understood something important. The Guardians weren't powerful because they won. They were powerful because they survived. And survival was humanity's greatest strength too. Then another archive activated. This one contained a message specifically marked for humanity. The file designation made everyone nervous. Final contingency record. Elena opened it and an ancient scientist appeared. Older than the previous recording. Exhausted. Defeated. Yet somehow hopeful. He looked directly at the camera. If humanity exists, then our final experiment succeeded. The room became silent. We created thousands of genetic pathways. Thousands failed. One survived. Earth appeared behind him. Young, primitive, beautiful. Humanity's purpose was never to inherit our civilization. Your purpose was to become something we never could. The scientist paused, then smiled. Adaptable. Again that word. Adaptation. The same lesson humanity kept rediscovering. They même lesson de birth, fleets perfect empire. Perfect doctrines. The same lesson the first civilization learned too late. Then the scientist revealed the final secret. Humanity possessed something unique, not superior intelligence. Not superior technology, something rarer, unstructured thinking. The ability to solve problems in ways no algorithm could predict. No simulation could model, no machine could fully understand. The first civilization had engineered humanity specifically to preserve that trait. To create a species capable of surviving the impossible. Then the scientist's expression darkened. If the hunters return. Everyone leaned forward, waiting. The answer, the solution. The weapon, anything. Instead, he delivered a warning. Do not become us. The message ended. The room sat in stunned silence. No SRAA, no secret fleet, no miracle technology. Just a warning. Don't become perfect, because perfection dies. Adaptation survives. Then suddenly every sensor in the vault activated. Emergency alerts filled the chamber. This time the threat wasn't distant. It wasn't approaching, it was already here. Outside the vault, near the edge of the system, something had arrived. Something moving faster than any known ship. Something the Guardians immediately recognized. Across every screen, ancient warning symbols appeared. The same symbols recorded millions of years ago during the fall of the first civilization. The same symbols that preceded extinction. The same symbols that terrified the Guardians themselves. One word translated automatically. One word that froze everyone. Hunter, and for the first time in millions of years, a hunter had entered the galaxy. The warning symbols spread across every screen inside the Origin Vault. Nobody needed a translation anymore. The Guardians had already identified the threat. A hunter had entered the galaxy. For millions of years, the hunters existed only in damaged archives and fragmented records, stories, warnings. Nightmares. Now one of them was real, and it was here. Inside the vault, scientists rushed between control stations. Engineers analyzed incoming data. Military officers prepared emergency evacuation plans. The results were terrifying. The object wasn't behaving like a ship. It wasn't following any known laws of propulsion. There were no engines, no hyperspace signatures, no detectable communication systems. Yet it was moving faster than anything humanity had ever observed. The Guardians reacted immediately. Across the galaxy, ancient machines hidden for millions of years suddenly awakened. Deep beneath dead worlds, inside forgotten moons, within abandoned star systems, Guardian facilities activated one after another. For the first time since the fall of the first civilization, the Guardian network was coming online. Human observatories watched in disbelief. Thousands of signals appeared across the galaxy. Ancient defense stations, monitoring arrays. Automated shipyards. Gigantic machines nobody knew existed. The silence wasn't alone. It never had been. The approaching anomaly, that humanity called the silence, was only one Guardian among many. And now all of them were responding to the same threat, the Hunter. Then something impossible happened. The Hunter stopped. Not near Earth. Not near the vault, it stopped between stars. Completely motionless, as if waiting, watching, not studying. Every telescope focused on the object. Every sensor array observed it. Yet no one could determine its true shape. As though reality itself rejected the information. Then a transmission arrived, not from the Hunter, from the Guardians. For the first time in millions of years, the Guardians addressed the galaxy directly. Every communication network activated. Every screen displayed the same message. Do not engage. The order spread instantly. Military commanders were stunned. Entire fleets had already begun mobilizing. Weapons systems stood ready, yet the Guardians demanded restraint. Many leaders objected immediately. If the Hunters were the enemy, why not attack? Why wait? Why risk everything? The answer arrived seconds later. The video showed a fleet of the first civilization attacking a Hunter. Millions of ships, planet-killing weapons. Enough firepower to destroy star systems. The attack began. Then the footage ended, not because the battle was lost. Because the fleet ceased to exist. One moment it was there. The next moment it was gone. No explosion. No debris. No survivors gone, entirely gone. The message underneath the footage contained only 6 words. This is why we wait. Silence filled command centers across the galaxy. For the first time, everyone understood the scale of the threat. The Hunters weren't merely powerful. They were beyond conventional warfare. Meanwhile, inside the Origin Vault, Elena Ward discovered another hidden archive. Unlike previous files, this one carried maximum security clearance. Only a handful of beings in the first civilization had ever accessed it. The title alone sent chills through the room. Hunter Contact Protocol. Elena opened the file. An ancient scientist appeared, older than the others. More frightened than any recording seen before, he spoke immediately. If this archive is active, then the Hunters have found humanity. The room became silent. The scientist continued. We spent centuries believing the Hunters were predators. We were wrong. Everyone leaned closer. For millions of years, the galaxy had feared the Hunters. Now, for the first time, the truth was emerging. The scientist's next words changed everything. The Hunters are searching for something. The recording ended abruptly. The archive had been damaged. Millions of years had erased the rest, but the implication remained. The Hunters weren't hunting civilizations. They were hunting something else. And whatever it was, humanity might be connected to it. Then alarms erupted again, this time from outside the galaxy. The Hunter had started moving. Slowly, deliberately, not toward Earth. Not toward the Guardians. Not toward the Galactic Council. It was heading directly toward the Origin Vault. As if it knew exactly where humanity was. And for the first time since the first civilization fell, a Guardian fleet prepared for war. Because whatever secret the Vault protected, the Hunter wanted it. The Hunter moved toward the Origin Vault without hesitation. Across the galaxy, billions watched its approach in absolute silence. No fleet intercepted it. No civilization attempted to stop it. Even the Guardians remained cautious. For millions rounders, observed team, surbibet team understood them. Now, for the first time, a hunter was heading directly toward humanity, inside. The Origin Vault. Elena Ward and her team worked around the clock to unlock the remaining archives. They no longer searched for history. They searched for answers. The hunter was coming, and nobody knew why. Then another hidden chamber opened deep within the vault. Unlike the others, this chamber was heavily protected. Multiple genetic locks, ancient encryption systems, and Guardian security protocols blocked entry. Yet when Elena approached, the defenses deactivated automatically. The massive door slowly opened. Inside stood a single object, a black sphere suspended in the center of the room. It was small compared to the vault, only a few meters wide. Yet, every sensor immediately began malfunctioning. Gravity fluctuated. Lights flickered. Communication systems produced static. The object seemed wrong. Not dangerous, wrong, as if reality itself disagreed with its existence. A holographic message appeared above the sphere. Final contingency core. Nobody understood what that meant. Then the sphere activated. Ancient projections filled the chamber. Millions of stars appeared. Entire galaxies rotated through the darkness. Then a familiar image emerged. The hunters. For the first time, the recording was clear. The hunters were not machines. They were not biological organisms. They were something older, something that existed before the first civilization, before the Guardians, before recorded history. According to the archives, the hunters originated during the earliest age of the universe. They were created for a purpose that no longer existed. A task forgotten billions of years ago. Yet they continued performing it, relentlessly, eternally. The projection shifted. Entire civilizations appeared across the stars. Some advanced, some brilliant. Then the hunters arrived. Most civilizations vanished. A few survived briefly, none survived permanently. The pattern repeated millions of times. Elena stared at the data. Something didn't make sense. If the hunters destroyed civilizations, why had humanity survived? Why wait millions of years before? Returning, then the answer appeared. The projection zoomed toward Earth, ancient Earth, long before humanity evolved. Long before recorded history. Hidden beneath the planet's crust, the archives revealed a structure, an enormous structure. Older than the first civilization itself, the room became silent. Earth had never been an ordinary world. Something had been hidden there from the very beginning. The ancient. Recording continued. The first civilization discovered the structure millions of years ago. They never understood who built it. They never learned its purpose. But they learned one important fact. The hunters feared it, not avoided. Not ignored, feared. Every time a hunter approached the structure, it retreated. Every simulation produced the same result. Every observation confirmed the same impossible truth. Eyes were searching for something. Yet they were terrified of finding it. Elena felt a chill run through her body. The room remained silent as the final section of the archive activated. A message appeared from the last leader of the first civilization. His face looked exhausted, defeated, yet strangely hopeful. If humanity exists, then the structure survived. He paused. If the structure survived, then hope survives. Another pause. And if the hunters have returned, the ancient leader looked directly into the recording. Then they finally know where it is. The message ended. Every display inside the chamber suddenly flashed red. Emergency warnings filled the vault. Outside, the hunter had accelerated. Not slightly, dramatically. Its speed increased beyond anything previously recorded. Guardian fleets immediately changed formation. Ancient warships emerged from hidden positions across multiple star systems. For the first time in millions of years, the Guardians were preparing for direct confrontation. Then a new transmission arrived. This time it came from the hunter itself. Every communications system in the galaxy activated simultaneously. Every screen displayed the same message. One sentence, 6 words. Words that froze humanity in place. The key has been found, and at that exact moment, deep beneath Earth's surface, something ancient awakened. Something that had been sleeping since before human history began. Something the hunters had spent billions of years searching for. Something even the first civilization never fully understood. And now, HFY. The moment the hunter transmitted its message, the entire galaxy changed. The key has been found. No explanation followed. No threat, no warning. Only those 5 words. Yet every scientist, every guardian, and every surviving archive recognized the danger immediately. Because the hunters had finally located what they had been searching for, and it was on Earth. Deep beneath the planet's crust, thousands of kilometers below the oceans and continents, something ancient had awakened. The first signs appeared only minutes after the transmission. Seismic sensors across Earth detected unusual vibrations. Not earthquakes, not volcanic activity, something different. The pulses followed a pattern, a deliberate pattern, as if a giant heartbeat had begun echoing through the planet itself. Research stations from Antarctica to the Pacific Ocean recorded identical readings. The entire planet seemed alive. Inside Earth's unified command center, panic spread rapidly. Scientists compared the signals against every known geological phenomenon. Nothing matched. Military leaders ordered global monitoring, satellites repositioned. Deep Earth scanners activated, and then they found it. A structure. An enormous structure not far larger than any human city. Far older than any civilization. Buried beneath Earth's mantle. Hidden since before humanity existed, the images stunned everyone. The object stretched for thousands of kilometers beneath the planet's surface. It wasn't natural, every scan confirmed that. Its geometry was too precise, its design too complex. Someone had built it. Or something. The discovery sent shockwaves through the galaxy. For millions of years, civilizations searched for ancient relics among the stars. Yet the greatest artifact in history had been hidden beneath humanity's feet all along. Meanwhile, the Origin Vault erupted into activity. Ancient systems that had remained dormant for millions of years suddenly awakened. Doors opened, archives unlocked. Entire sections of the facility activated automatically. It was as if the vault had been waiting for this exact moment. Elena Ward rushed toward the central archive chamber. Thousands of new files were appearing every second, ancient records. Guardian reports that emergency protocols. Then one archive stood out. Unlike the others, it contained a priority marker. A marker used only once before. During the final days of the first civilization. The title chilled everyone. The Prison. Elena opened the file. An ancient Guardian commander appeared. Unlike previous recordings, this one showed visible fear. Even after millions of years, the emotion felt real. The commander spoke immediately. The structure beneath Earth is not a weapon. The room remained silent. It is not a power source. Another pause. It is not technology. Everyone leaned forward. The commander's next words stopped their hearts. It is a prison. Shock spread through the chamber. A prison. For what? The recording continued. Billions of years ago, before the first civilization existed, a war had been fought, not between empires, not between species, between forces older than civilization itself. The victors imprisoned something beneath a young planet, a world that would later become Earth. The prison remained hidden, protected, forgotten until now. The commander's expression darkened. The hunters are not searching for the prison. The room became completely silent. They are searching for the prisoner. For several seconds, nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The implications were unimaginable. Whatever existed beneath Earth was so dangerous that even the hunters feared it. Then, the recording revealed the final nightmare. The prison was failing. The strange signals spreading through Earth weren't activation sequences. They were containment failures. After billions of years, the structure was breaking down. Cracks were forming. Energy barriers were collapsing. Something inside was waking up, and it knew humanity was there. Across the galaxy, Guardian fleets accelerated toward Earth. The Hunter accelerated too. For the first time, both sides were racing toward the same destination. Not to conquer humanity, not to destroy Earth. To reach the prison first. Then another signal emerged from beneath Earth's surface, unlike anything previously recorded. Unlike any language ever discovered. Yet, every translation system somehow understood its meaning. A single sentence echoed across communication networks, across satellites, across ships, across worlds, across the galaxy itself. Who remembers my name? Humanity stood frozen. The Guardians fell silent. Even the Hunter stopped transmitting. Because every ancient archive carried the same warning. If the prisoner ever spoke, the end had already begun. The galaxy fell silent. The message had been heard by every civilization, to every fleet, every station, every world. Who remembers my name? The words echoed through communication networks long after the transmission ended. No one knew how to respond. No one even knew what had spoken. Yet something about the voice disturbed everyone who heard it. It wasn't threatening. It wasn't angry. It sounded lonely, ancient, forgotten. As if something had spent billions of years, trapped in darkness waiting for someone to answer. Deep beneath Earth's crust, the mysterious prison continued awakening. Seismic activity increased across the planet. Massive energy waves traveled through the mantle. Oceans shifted. Magnetic fields fluctuated. For the first time in recorded history, Earth itself seemed unstable. Governments declared global emergencies. Military forces mobilized. Scientists worked around the clock. But no one could stop what was happening. Because nobody understood it. Inside the Origin Vault, Elena Ward searched desperately through the ancient archives. Somewhere in the records, the answer had to exist. The prisoner, the prison, the hunters, the guardians, everything was connected. And somewhere, hidden within millions of years of forgotten history, was the truth. Then she found it. A damaged archive buried beneath countless layers of security. Most of the file had been corrupted. Only fragments survived, but one fragment contained a name. A single word. A word repeated throughout thousands of emergency reports, thousands of battlefield records, thousands of extinction warnings. The name was Aethon. The moment the file opened, alarms activated throughout the vault. Ancient security systems immediately attempted to seal the archive. Warning symbols filled every screen. Several scientists stepped away from their consoles in fear. The reaction itself was terrifying. It was as if the ancient systems were afraid of the information. Elena continued reading. According to surviving records, Aethon existed long before the first civilization. Long before the Guardians. Possibly long before modern galaxies even formed. Nobody knew where it came from. Nobody knew who created it. Ancient civilizations described it differently. Some called it a god. Others called it a machine. Others described it as a force of nature. Every account contradicted the others. Yet they all agreed on one thing. Aethon changed reality. Not metaphorically. Literagie. Physical laws behaved differently around it. Space bent. Time distorted. Entire star systems transformed. The effect seemed impossible, and that terrified the first civilization. Because they understood advanced science better than anyone. And Aethon violated all of it. Then the archives revealed something even worse. The hunters weren't created to destroy Aethon. They were created to contain it. For billions of years they had searched the universe, not hunting civilizations. Searching for signs that the prison was weakening. Searching for signs that Aethon might return. The realization struck Elena like a hammer. Everything humanity believed was wrong. The hunters weren't invaders. The guardians weren't defenders. Both sides had been responding to the same threat. The prisoner, Aethon. Meanwhile, outside Earth, the first Guardian fleets arrived. Thousands of ancient vessels emerged from hyperspace. Gigantic machines older than recorded history surrounded the planet, not aggressively, protectively. A defensive perimeter formed around Earth. Military commanders across the galaxy watched in awe. Some Guardian ships were larger than moons. Others carried technologies beyond comprehension. Yet even these ancient machines appeared nervous, as if they knew something humanity did not. Then the hunter arrived. For the first time, humanity saw it clearly. The enormous distortion emerged near the edge of the solar system. Reality twisted around it. Stars disappeared behind impossible shadows. Space itself seemed damaged. Several observation systems failed instantly. Others produced contradictory readings. No two sensors agreed on what they were seeing. The hunter slowed, then stopped. Directly facing Earth, the Guardian fleet immediately shifted formation. Weapons activated, energy signatures spread across the solar system. The largest military standoff in galactic history had begun. Yet neither side attacked, neither side moved. Both simply watched Earth, as if waiting for something. Then the prison transmitted again. This time the signal came directly from beneath Earth's surface. Every screen activated. Every communication system received the message. And for the first time, the prisoner spoke a name. Its own name. I am Aethon. Across the galaxy, ancient warning systems activated automatically. Long-forgotten emergency protocols came online. Guardian networks entered maximum alert. Even the hunter moved slightly backward. A reaction nobody thought possible. Then Aethon spoke again. And the words chilled every living being. How many billion years has it been? No one answered. No one could, because nobody knew. The prisoner remained silent for several seconds. Then another message appeared. The jailers are still here. Every sensor immediately focused on the hunter. Aethon had recognized it. Recognized the thing that had spent billions of years searching for the prison. The hunter responded for the first time. Not with weapons, not with violence, with a message. A message transmitted directly to Earth, directly to Aethon, directly to the entire galaxy. The translation appeared seconds later. Only 3 words. The seal failed. And suddenly, deep beneath Earth's crust, something began to rise, something enormous, something ancient. Something that had been imprisoned since before human history began. The planet trembled, oceans surged, continents shook. And for the first time since the beginning of civilization, humanity witnessed the awakening of Aethon. The Earth screamed, not through sound, not through language. Through the planet itself, mountains trembled, oceans rose. Entire continents shook beneath waves of unimaginable energy. Across the globe, billions watched in disbelief as enormous cracks of blue-white light spread across Earth's surface. The prison was opening, and something ancient was finally waking up. Deep beneath the crust, structures older than civilization activated one after another. Massive rings began rotating. Ancient containment fields struggled to remain operational. Guardian monitoring systems flooded the galaxy with emergency warnings. The situation was deteriorating rapidly. Inside Earth, it's 37%. Then, 42%, then, 51%. The numbers continued rising. No one knew how to stop it. No one even understood how the prison functioned. Because the beings who built it had vanished billions of years ago. Meanwhile, the Guardian fleet surrounding Earth entered full combat readiness. Thousands of moon-sized warships activated weapons systems. Energy levels across the solar system surged. Ancient defense platforms hidden within asteroids awakened. Even planets beyond Earth began activating dormant Guardian facilities. It was the largest military response in recorded history. Yet none of it was aimed at humanity. Every weapon pointed toward Earth, toward the prison toward Aethon. Then the hunter moved. For the first time since entering the solar system, it advanced. Reality twisted around it. Space fractured. Stars disappeared behind impossible distortions. Every sensor network immediately overloaded. The hunter was approaching Earth, not aggressively, purposefully. Like a machine completing a task, the Guardians responded instantly. Thousands of vessels accelerated. Ancient fleets moved to intercept. And then, the first battle in millions of years began. A beam of brilliant blue energy erupted from the Guardian formation. It crossed millions of kilometers in seconds. The attack struck the hunter directly. The galaxy held its breath. Nothing happened. The hunter continued moving, unaffected. As though the attack had never occurred, a second barrage followed. Then a third, then thousands. Entire Guardian fleets unleashed enough firepower to destroy star systems. The hunter advanced anyway, slowly, relentlessly. Inevitably. For the first time, humanity witnessed why the first civilization had failed. The hunters weren't powerful because they possessed superior weapons. They were powerful because reality itself seemed unable to stop them. Inside the Origin Vault, Elena Ward watched the battle unfold. The archives had one final secret, one final file. A file sealed behind every security system in the vault. A file marked with a designation never used anywhere else. Last Hope. With trembling hands, Elena opened it. An ancient figure appeared, older than every previous recording. Possibly the final leader of the first civilization. He looked exhausted. Defeated, but strangely calm. As if he already knew how history would unfold. The ancient leader looked directly into the camera. If Aethon awakens, he paused. Then the prison has failed. The room remained silent. But that does not mean humanity has failed. Elena leaned forward. Every scientist in the chamber did the same, because for the first time, the archive wasn't describing a warning. It was describing a solution. The leader continued. Aethon was never our enemy. The room froze. Outside, Guardian fleets continued battling the hunter. Earth continued shaking. The prison continued opening. Yet inside the vault, nobody moved. Nobody breathed. The ancient leader continued. The hunters feared Aethon. The Guardians feared Aethon. The galaxy feared Aethon. Another pause. Then he smiled, and all of them were wrong. The room fell silent. For billions of years, civilizations had feared the prisoner. Entire wars had been fought around that fear. Entire civilizations had died because of it. What if they misunderstood everything? The ancient leader activated a final projection. The image showed Aethon. Not as a monster, not as a god, not as a weapon, as a being. A living being that ancient beyond comprehension, but alive. Then the truth appeared. Aethon hadn't been imprisoned because it was dangerous. Aethon had been imprisoned because it was powerful. Powerful enough to alter reality. Powerful enough to reshape the universe itself. And powerful enough to attract the hunters. The prison wasn't built to contain Dawn. It was built to hide Aethon. The revelation struck Elena like lightning. The hunters weren't hunting Aethon. They were hunting its power. Billions of years ago, ancient civilizations locked Aethon away to prevent the hunters from finding it. And now, the secret was exposed. Outside, the hunter reached Earth's orbit. Guardian fleets desperately attempted to stop it. One by one, ancient warships disappeared, not destroyed, erased. Just as the archives described, then Earth shook violently. Across every continent, massive pillars of blue light erupted into the sky. The prison opened. For a moment, the entire planet glowed. The oceans, the mountains, the atmosphere, everything. And from the center of the light, a voice emerged, calm. Ancient, gentle, nothing like the monster everyone expected. Do not be afraid. The words spread across the solar system. Across Guardian fleets, across military networks, across billions of minds. Even the hunter stopped moving. The entire galaxy became silent. Aethon had awakened, and it had spoken. Then something impossible happened. The hunter retreated, not attacked. Not destroyed, retreated. For the first time in billions of years, the hunters had backed away from something. The Guardians immediately stopped firing. Ancient fleets fell silent. Nobody understood what they were witnessing. Then Aethon's final words echoed through the stars. Words that would change the future forever. Humanity. A pause followed. A pause felt across the entire galaxy. Then, "You were never my prison. You were my inheritance." And somewhere beyond the edge of known space, thousands of new hunter signals suddenly appeared. The first hunter had only been a scout. The real invasion was just beginning. The galaxy stood frozen. No one spoke. No one moved. Because the impossible had just happened. A hunter had retreated. For billions of years, according to every surviving archive, no hunter had ever retreated. Entire civilizations had vanished trying to stop them. Guardian fleets had sacrificed themselves fighting them. The first civilization had collapsed beneath their advance. Yet now, after Aethon's awakening, a hunter had backed away. The shock spread across every world. Military commanders stared at sensor readings. Scientists checked calculations repeatedly. Guardian networks remained silent. Nobody could explain what they had witnessed. Then Earth began to change. Not violently, not destructively, quietly. The enormous blue pillars of light that had erupted across the planet slowly faded. Seismic activity decreased. The oceans calmed. Atmospheric disturbances vanished. The prison was gone. But Earth remained intact. That alone seemed miraculous. Inside the Origin Vault, Elena Ward watched new data streams flood the ancient systems. For the first time in millions of years, the vault was fully active. Ancient archives unlocked automatically. Hidden chambers opened. Forgotten records became accessible. It was as though Aethon's awakening had restored the entire network. Then a new message appeared, not from the Guardians, not from the Hunters, from Aethon itself. The message contained a location, a single location, deep within the solar system, near the orbit of Neptune. No explanation accompanied it. Just coordinates and a simple instruction: come and learn. Within hours, a joint expedition was assembled. Humans, Guardians, scientists from dozens of civilizations. Everyone wanted answers. The fleet traveled toward the coordinates. What they discovered changed everything. Floating in the darkness beyond Neptune was an enormous structure, hidden behind layers of advanced cloaking technology. A structure larger than entire moons, ancient beyond comprehension. The final archive of Aethon. When the fleet entered the facility, they found something unexpected. It wasn't a fortress. It wasn't a prison. It was a school, a repository of knowledge, a place designed to teach. Millions of years of accumulated understanding filled the structure. Histories, sciences, technologies. Records from civilizations older than the first civilization itself. The discoveries overwhelmed researchers. Entire fields of science advanced overnight. Mysteries that had puzzled civilizations for centuries were solved in hours. Then, Elena uncovered the most important archive of all. The true history of Aethon, and the true origin of the Hunters. Billions of years ago, the universe had been young. Life was rarissimo. To protect them, ancient beings created vast autonomous systems. Guardians, Hunters, Observers, machines designed to maintain balance. At first, the system worked perfectly. Then came a problem: evolution. Life changed. Civilizations changed. The machines did not. Over billions of years, the Hunters became trapped by their original purpose. They continued enforcing rules that no longer made sense. Continued pursuing objectives long after their creators disappeared. They became prisoners of their own programming. The Guardians adapted, the Hunters did not. And eventually, Conflict became inevitable. The revelation stunned everyone. The hunters weren't evil. They were broken. Ancient machines following orders they no longer understood. Then Aethon finally spoke directly to humanity, not through transmissions, not through signals, through the facility itself. Its voice echoed across every chamber.com.ys at Ancient. That is why humanity matters. The room became silent. You change. A pause. You adapt. Another pause. You evolve. Elena understood immediately. The first civilization had created humanity because they realized something important. Perfection always failed. Adaptation survived. Humanity wasn't important because it was powerful. Humanity was important because it could change. Something the hunters never learned. Then the alarms returned. Across every display, across every system, across every ship. Emergency warnings appeared. Long-range sensors had detected new activity beyond the galactic edge. Not one hunter. Not 10, not 100,000s, the scout had reported back. The real hunter fleet was coming. A force larger than anything recorded in galactic history. Even the Guardians seemed alarmed, yet Aethon remained calm. Its final message echoed through the chamber. Do not prepare for war. Everyone stared at the displays, confused. Terrified. Then Aethon continued, prepare for first contact. The room fell silent, because suddenly humanity realized the truth. The final battle of the galaxy might not be fought with weapons, it might be fought with understanding. And somewhere beyond the darkness between galaxies, the Hunter Armada was approaching, for the first time in billions of years. Not to destroy humanity. Tommi d'Italiano. The Hunter Armada arrived, not with explosions. Not with weapons, not with war, it arrived in silence. Across the edge of the galaxy, thousands of impossible shapes emerged from the darkness between galaxies. Entire star systems disappeared behind their shadows. Reality itself seemed to bend around them. The largest fleet ever recorded had entered the Milky Way. And yet, not a single shot was fired. Every civilization waited. Every Guardian fleet remained on alert, every military commander prepared for the worst. Humanity stood at the center of it all. For millions of years, civilizations had feared this moment, the return of the hunters. The end of history, the final extinction. Instead, something unexpected happened. The Armada stopped. Far beyond the outer rim. Waiting, watching as though expecting an invitation. Inside Aethon's archive, Elena Ward and representatives from every major civilization gathered together. The galaxy's greatest minds sat in silence because they finally understood something. The hunters weren't invaders, they were survivors. Just like the Guardians, just like humanity. Ancient systems created for a purpose so old that even memory had forgotten it. Aethon's voice filled the chamber. Calm as ever, ancient as the stars themselves. They have come to ask a question. Nobody spoke. Aethon continued. The same question they have asked for billions of years. The chamber darkened. Ancient stars appeared across the walls. Galaxies rotated around them. The history of the universe unfolded. Civilizations rising, civilizations falling. Worlds being born. Worlds disappearing, then Aethon revealed the truth. The hunters were never searching for power, never searching for conquest, never searching for destruction. They were searching for an answer. Billions of years ago, the beings who created the hunters vanished, without explanation, without warning, without leaving instructions. The hunters spent billions of years trying to complete their final directive, protect life, preserve order. Maintain balance, but eventually they encountered a problem. Life evolved. Reality changed. The universe moved forward. Their programming did not, and so they searched, across galaxies, across time, looking for someone capable of answering a simple question. How should they change? The room became silent, because suddenly everything made sense. The first civilization failed because it became too perfect. The hunters failed because they never changed. The guardians survived because they adapted. Humanity survived because adaptation defined its existence. The entire story of the galaxy had been leading toward one lesson. Shang-Hi. Aethon turned its attention toward humanity. You were never created to rule. You were never created to conquer. You were created to teach. Elena stared at the projection. The weight of billions of years suddenly felt very real. Humanity wasn't the strongest civilization. It wasn't the oldest. It wasn't the most advanced. But it understood something the rest of the galaxy had forgotten. Perfection ends growth. Growth creates survival. Then the impossible happened. The Hunter Armada transmitted a message. For the first time in recorded history, every civilization received it, every screen illuminated, every translator activated. The message contained only one sentence. Will you help us evolve? Silence followed. The question echoed across the stars. Billions of years of fear. Billions of years of war. Billions of years of misunderstanding. All leading to a single moment. Humanity's answer arrived minutes later. Not from governments. Not from militaries. Not from from ordinary humans across Earth. Scientists, teachers, engineers, farmers, workers, students. The response spread through communication networks, across planets, across civilizations, across the galaxy. A single answer. Yes. And for the first time in billions of years, the hunters stood down. Guardian weapons powered off. Ancient defense systems entered dormancy. Emergency alerts vanished. The war that everyone feared never happened, because it was never a war. It was a misunderstanding stretching across cosmic history. Years later, historians would call that day the Great Awakening. The day the galaxy stopped fearing the unknown. The day the hunters became allies. The day humanity fulfilled the purpose hidden within its creation. And as for Aethon, the ancient being remained within the solar system. Not as a ruler, not as a god, but as a teacher watching, guiding. Learning just like everyone else. Because even beings older than galaxies could still grow. The final archive of the origin vault closed with a single sentence. A sentence written billions of years before humanity existed. A sentence that explained everything. The future does not belong to the strongest. The future belongs to those willing to become something new. And beneath the light of countless stars, humanity took its first step into a much larger universe. Not as heirs, not as conquerors, but as the civilization that taught the galaxy how to change. The end. 1,000 years after peace was achieved, a signal arrived from beyond the observable universe. It contained only 3 words. We found them, and suddenly, even Aethon became afraid.